Joshua was told that Israel couldn't stand before I, and you spell that AI, okay, couldn't stand before their enemy until the accursed thing was removed from them. What was the accursed thing? The sin of Achan. And so we have to ask ourselves, is that the case for us? In summary, what I'm going to do, and this is a study that's too detailed to just be done in one statement. And I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of everything in this last 10 minutes that we have here. Ezekiel 9. And you can check this out. Next week we'll come back and we'll continue on. We'll give you all the Spirit of Prophecy quotes, and we'll show you all the heavy Bible quotes and prophecies. Ezekiel 9 is a slaughter that God will commission in his house. It is written through the entire books of the Spirit of Prophecy. It is calling for this church for a reform and a reformation. If we do not accept the sign and crying, the seal and message of the living, we will fall in that slaughter. Out of that slaughter will come only 144,000 servants of God, according to Revelation. Clearly through the Spirit of Prophecy, clearly, strongly through the Bible. Is there biblical proof? Remember, it says, introduce nothing unless you have a clear evidence that from the Bible. So next week we're going to continue on with the clear evidences from the Bible, but this is just introducing some of the things that some of us may have not even knew was inside of the Spirit of Prophecy. And now we need to go back and read it, and it will point you to the Bible, where it is in the Bible to confirm what has been said. In this slaughter that is to take place, it is not by any man's hand. You know, some people used to say, oh, the people being the shepherd's rod message, they're the one that's going to come and do the slaughter and all these various things, and they try to use the example when Moses told his brethren to gird themselves and go through and slaughter. It is not me or anyone else who believes in this rod message. Our job is to sign cry for you. Okay? That's what our job is to do, is to cry for you. Right? To go to our brethren, to do everything we possibly can to warn them off the enemy. You see, because the dumb dogs, you see, the reason why you get a guard dog is so that he could warn you when the enemy's coming. And if he doesn't bark and the enemy comes and destroy you, the guard dog is good for nothing. You might as well destroy it and get rid of it, because that's the whole purpose of it. In the ancient days, and even I believe in these days, when a sentry is put on duty to watch for the enemy, and he had night duty, and his job was to stand and stay awake all night and sound an alarm if the enemy is coming. If he does not sound that alarm and the enemy attacks because he fell asleep, at the end of it all, if they survived it and they were able to repel the enemy, that army will put to death that soldier that fell asleep on his post, because he risked the lives of the entire army, the entire camp. And this is what it's been talking about, the dumb dogs who refuse to bark. This is why the ancient men, those who were put in what? In control of the church. And when we go back and we see in the book of Revelation, it states, and unto the angel of the church of Laodicea. So unto the angel, that angel was in charge of the church of Laodicea. It wasn't unto the church of Laodicea. It says, unto the angel of the church of Laodicea, I find a fault with thee. And he tells you why. You think you have everything, increase with goods and everything else like that, and I'm going to spew you out. And that's what he tells him he's going to do, and that's what God is going to do. And you see this again repeated over and over and over in regards to the ancient men, the ones that were put, the depositor of truth, the ones that were given the knowledge. They're the ones that had the school, and they had all these things. They had all the information before them, and they refused to give it to the people, and as a result of it, the people were going to suffer. And God says, I need to remove that. In order for you to go out and my name to be vindicated and you to move with no guile, I must remove that to go out in the world, in order that the gospel may be preached. So the way we are preaching and the way we're bringing out the gospel today, it will not succeed. God stands here as my witness. It cannot succeed. God must first take this church in control, and God himself will set his angels to destroy all that are sinful inside of this church. Now the question is, will there only be 144,000 saved? No. There will not only be 144,000 saved. What will be is when Ezekiel 9, the slaughter comes, there will only be 144,000 stand living, true bloodline of Israel. So now the question is, well, what about all the 15, 16 million people? Well, here's the thing. The Bible and the spirit of prophecy is clear that those who are unable to go through the time of trouble are laid to rest. So God will lay them to rest in a natural death. And God again will deal with that situation, and that's another study of the Daniel chapter 12, okay, of the resurrection of the righteous and the wicked, of the righteous. And so that is another study that we could continue on with, but you'll see clearly that God in his mercy will lay to rest those who are faithful, but they're incapable of going through the time of trouble. And that's where we're going to see this. A lot of people are going to be laid to rest. Yes, to a point. But there'll be a lot more in the church that will be destroyed. Examples that we see is very, very clear. There's two comings that God did. First one, he stated, was by flood. And we see that the vast majority of the people at that time were the one, and only 8 alive were saved in the ark. But we knew it was not only 8 that helped with the ark, because if you take a look at the ages, you'll see clearly that Methuselah and all these ones were, as a matter of fact, Methuselah died the year the flood came. And so when we look and we see the ages of some of these people, we realize that they were true disciples of God. They were true followers of God. But God laid them to rest, but only 8 remained in the ark. And there was a reason why the number 8 also stayed in the ark as well too. And we see that clearly through. And we also see that it was not Japheth, the oldest of the 3 boys, but it was Shem, the second, that actually carried the bloodline of Christ. So as we go, we're going to continue on next week in regards to Ezekiel 9. There's a lot more to it. I just wanted to give an opening aspect of the belief in regards to that. Now, what I would like for you to do is not to come into it ignorant next week. Is for you to go and for you to look up these books. Find these books, Testimonies to Ministers and Gospel Workers, Testimonies 3, Testimonies 5, some strong books and statements. See what Sister White says in regards to prophecies and things to be fulfilled. And then we'll continue on. But remember this, God in his mercy knows exactly who's true in his heart. And all it requires, it's not an issue of the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not a test for us. You've already accepted the Sabbath, and it's not a test for us. The test for the Sabbath is regards to the world, because that's where they got to come into in regards to that. Now, I know there's some other arguments around that and some other discussions about that, but those things could be easily answered when we're dealing with this, because it clearly states here, in the midst of Jerusalem, not in the midst of Babylon. Okay? And that's very, very important for us to understand. It says, go in the midst of Jerusalem to the ancient men who stood before the house of God. We don't have a house of God in Babylon. We are the house of God in Babylon in itself as a religion, and us as a house of Israel who stand in the land of Babylon, confused religion. But we are not part of that Babylon association. We are part of Israel, and Israel cannot be Babylon, can neither Babylon be Israel. So go in the midst of Jerusalem, where the leaders, where those who are stood before the house of God, and we're going to receive And a statement was read here